What's up, guys, and happy Halloween. It is finally Halloween, and as all of you guys know, that means that Vlogoween is also over today. Before I start today's video, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for following along with me on this journey if you have been, and also thank you for being patient with me on days that I haven't gotten videos out every single day like I really wanted to. I know the last few days have been very sparse, and that is because of this little bundle of joy. I had to make a very unexpected trip to be there when she was born, and so that is what I prioritized over making videos. But I just got back today, and I'm going to be telling you guys a story, since it's finally Halloween, about what I did last year on Halloween, which included conquering my fears. So one of my biggest fears always, something that I have always avoided, something I have never done, has been haunted houses or going to haunted houses. And last year I decided to conquer this fear. And the reason I decided to actually conquer this fear finally is because last year I went to this situation, I think it's called the San Francisco Dungeon. It's an attraction, very touristy situation in San Francisco. And basically they walk you through kind of down into a dungeon and then like through different scenes of San Francisco's like gory dark histories. There's like a scene where you're gonna be sold to slavery. There's a scene where you're in like a haunted prison. So last year I heard that there was a theater group putting on a haunted house about 30 minutes away from where I was, and I was like, this is a perfect opportunity. This is probably going to be just like the San Francisco Dungeon situation, where it's going to be like actual scenes that are played out, and it's going to have like a storyline to it, which to me that makes it worth it. Like, it's not just like terror, it's like there's a purpose to it, you know, you learn something or you get a story that's told to you. That was kind of what I was thinking, because they said theater group and it was to raise money for a theater, and it was being put on by all the theater's local actors, and I was like, this is going to be great. So I managed to get one of my friends to go with me, and I also managed to get my little brother and one of his friends. So there were 4 of us. And little funny side story, my little brother's friend, his mom didn't know we were going to a haunted house. They're very like religious Christian, and we were like, hey, you can ask him and see. Well, my brother asked him and he's like, yeah, just come pick me up. So we went and picked him up. Well, apparently he told his mom that he was just gonna like come and hang out with us, and didn't tell her like the specifics, probably because he wouldn't have been allowed to go. But like, our family is Christian too, and we go to the same church. So I think his mom was like, oh, it's Halloween, like they'll just be hanging out and like chilling because everybody else is out doing fun stuff. So we literally furthered a child's delinquency this night. But yeah, we all hopped into a car and we drove the 30 minutes to this haunted house. And when we got there, you guys, the first thing that I see are these creepy people walking around the parking lot dressed in various arrays of like haunted, like people's terrors. So like creepy dolls or like vampire werewolves or, you know, whatever it is. They're just like walking around and trying to basically scare people into the building. And my first thought on seeing them was, oh, this is not going to be scenes. I don't think this is gonna be like a walk-through play. This is gonna just be a normal horror scary haunted house, right? And so I'm like, oh, maybe I will stay in the car. But then what I noticed is that people who had stayed in the car, these characters that were browsing the parking lot, they were literally tormenting them. They were like up at the windows, just freaking them out. And so I was like, nope, not gonna stay in the car. I'm gonna keep with my party. I'm gonna go into the building and we're gonna survive this together. And so we went inside and we were all in the lobby for like 35 to 40 minutes. Because the way that they did it was they had like a tour guide for each group of people, and the groups were however many people are in your party. So if it's just you, you're your own group. So for our party, it was just the 4 of us. So it was taking a really long time because there were so many like couples or like just like 2 or 3 or 4 people, and there weren't like large groups that were going through at the same time. And you guys, the waiting process in this like lobby area was the worst. For one thing, they had fog machines going so thick you could barely see anything, okay? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is that not only are the weird creepy people who are dressed up as things outside in the parking lot, but they're inside the lobby. And they're not just like walking around looking scary, they're getting up in your face, they're talking to you, they're like standing behind you waiting for you to turn around or like see them out of the corner of your eye so that they can like make noises or move. It was terrifying. It was literally my worst nightmare. And here's why. Certain people don't freak me out, right? Like people who are dressed as dolls, not an issue. People who are dressed as like, I don't know, there's certain ones that just don't bother me. But I have a fear, people dressing like animals, almost like mascot type characters. Let me tell you, Disneyland is a rough place for me to be. And then also people dressing as inanimate objects that shouldn't have personalities. I don't know. Those are the things that really freak me out. Not so much like the doll, because to me like dolls are creepy, but like People dressed as dolls, not so creepy. So there was a guy dressed as like a wolf, but he had like human clothes on. That to me was terrifying. There was also a guy that was dressed as like a swamp hillbilly, but he had like a bat with spikes on it and his face didn't look quite human. That one was terrifying to me. The like fake little girls that are supposed to be like possessed children, not scary at all. Dolls, not scary at all. Like there's certain ones that are scary and certain ones that are not scary, but the problem is that the ones that I think are scary, I have the largest inclination in the world to punch them in the face. And I'm not just like saying that. I literally almost did punch them in the face, at least 2 different ones. And I actually told my friend, I was like, you need to hold me back because I almost just punched that person. And they had a rule in there. They're like, they're not gonna touch you if you don't touch them. So like, don't touch them because if you touch them, then they can touch you. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that I couldn't actually do it or like they might touch me, and to me that was the most terrifying thing in the world. But the fact that I would just like turn around and somebody be standing behind my shoulder like almost touching me, just staring me down, I wanted to swing around and roundhouse punch them. It was the worst. So we're standing there. I am literally holding back every inclination in my body to punch people in the face. Like it was seriously bad. And the problem is that because I thought this was going to be like a walk-through theater type situation that was still like horror, but like walk-through theater with a story and like points to the horror and the gore and all of that stuff, I hadn't expected so many of these like characters that I'm terrified of, these like more mascotty, weird looking characters versus like a witch being burned at a stake and then like coming back from the dead, and you know, like a storyline that had like certain characters, but not just like random creepy characters walking around terrifying me. That was not my expectations. So just to start with, I was like, oh no. So I'm standing in line with these characters that I am taking every ounce of willpower I have not to punch them in the face and thinking, what are my options? I can go back to the car and I can be terrified in the car. I can't walk through the parking lot by myself. Are you kidding me? I will. Oh my gosh, you guys. I just put my arm down and my dog is sleeping on the couch and the back of my hand touched her little nose and it was hot, and I'm talking about these like characters dressed as animals and stuff, and it scared me to death. Back to the story as soon as my heart calms down. Long story short, my only option was to stay there and go through the rest of the maze. We finally get to the front of the line and we get our tour guide, which thank goodness we got the tour guide. We got some girl dressed up as like a doll or something. So to me, not scary at all. But also she wasn't the other doll, because the other doll was this girl that we watched tell a group of high school students to like back up bitch or something to that. I don't remember exactly what. It was something to do with bitch though. And she was directing at one of the girls like, what are you gonna do, basic bitch? Or I don't know, something kind of horrible for like, even though she was like in character or whatever. Like, no, you don't do that to somebody who's donating money to your theater group. Also, the girl wasn't having any problems. They were just asking like simple questions about like how long this takes and then like the different people in there. And anyways, so we were like so glad we didn't get her, because like I think the whole line was like, not cool. So we got the one doll character and we start going through this haunted house, and very quickly it became apparent that indeed it was not like scenes like I thought it was going to be. So this truly was now conquering my fears. It was no longer like, oh, this is like conquering my fears, but in like a soft way that's not actually committing. It was committing. So you go through these different areas where different things are happening, and everything was pretty good. I was like, most of it wasn't that scary. I was so thankful that there were not any like blatant scenes. They call them scenes, but they're basically just sections that you go through where different things are happening. So you have like black maze and then like something happening, black maze, something happening. But they didn't go together. There was no storyline. It was just scary, scary, scary. Like different types of horror. So like one was all creepy dolls, one was little kids that would chase you. You know, different things that people are scared of. So thankfully there was not like a scene where there were like scary werewolf looking people, because I would have had a literal fit and killed somebody. Most of the scenes were pretty mundane and they didn't bother me until we got to the end of the haunted house, where you guys, there were a whole bunch of people with chainsaws that were chasing us. I was kind of in the middle. I was like between my friend and my brother, and then my brother's friend was behind him. And so I was like the second person in the line, right? I saw those chainsaws and I could not handle it. That is another separate fear of mine. But I literally pushed my friend out of the way and started hightailing it. And I think I even like might have pushed the tour guide out of the way and gotten in front of her for a second. And then like luckily the concession area was next, because they had this area where you could get like punch and soup for free, which was really nice of them. It was like, oh, thank you for donating and going through our haunted house. Here's some free stuff. So we got to that section and my friend was just like, what is your deal? And we were laughing about it and talking about it. And I explained to her, I was like, as we started going through, the thought kind of crept into my mind that how easy would it be for some weirdo with a chainsaw to actually slip in and just pretend to be an actor and actually kill people, and then everybody would think that it was staged and it was part of the haunted house, but it would really be happening, and like my luck, it would happen to me. And so this was the thought process going through my head, and I was explaining it to her, and the lady working, pouring juice and like soup and stuff for people, she's like, no, we've had actual actors who can't work in that section because that's a fear of theirs as well. That's like a legitimate fear. And that's actually happened supposedly in other haunted houses where people have like watched people be murdered. I think there was one, like some guy got axed down by like an actual axed murderer, and everybody thought it was part of like the haunted scene, and so they just like kept going through, but he was an actual killer and he actually killed somebody. And so there were people in this theater group who wouldn't even work in the chainsaw section. So I was not alone in that particular fear. I think I'm still pretty alone, besides Teddy from Bob's Burgers, of like my fear of like mascots and people wearing costumes. But overall, made it through the haunted house, everything was good, and that's pretty much how I spent my Halloween last year, because I'm too old to go trick-or-treating or do any of the other stuff that kids do anymore, which is really sad. So this year, I literally am going to Bible study and watching Netflix, so not interesting at all. So I thought I'd just tell you what I did last year. I thought that might be more interesting for you guys, and I would love to know what you guys are doing this year, since I'm a boring adult. I want to know what costumes you're wearing, if you're going to Halloween parties, where you're going, like tell me all the details. I'm very curious, and I hope you guys have a very amazing Halloween, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!